to go through the work of opening up a pistachio, and some of them don't want to open.
Oh, like half of them don't want to open.
Don't want to open.
Yeah,
So they're really stubborn
Yeah.
and annoying. And then you open it up, and what do you get for all your effort? One pistachio.
I'm Dan Souza, and I'm joined by my lovely co-host, Lisa McManus, and we are in the test kitchen. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Dan. What's going on?
What's going on? It is so fun to have you here. We have not done a podcast like this together yet. We're in a different space today for the show. Normally, we're in our set kitchen for America's Test Kitchen. This is the set for Cook's Country. And I'm hope this podcast just roves around all of the test kitchen and you get to see it all. But so it sounds a little bit different today or looks a little bit different, we're still in the same building, just a different home. So Lisa, you are executive editor for our reviews team here at ATK. So you are responsible for all of the amazing stuff we do with testing products and ingredients. You put everything through crazy paces to figure out sort of what is the best product on the market. But you have protocols for your testing that sometimes go just to the extreme. One of my favorites is when you're testing clad skillets, like stainless steel skillets in the kitchen. One of the concerns is if there's a lot of temperature shock with those, that they can sort of break at the handle, right? They can pop off or they can warp, all these things that we don't want. And so you devise this process that is really incredible where you will superheat one of these skillets on the stovetop, dunk it into ice water, and then you bang it on a hard surface. And I always say this story introducing you because I think it shows your level of dedication to just getting to the bottom of an answer.
Yeah, it probably also shows my level of craziness. I don't know if that's the right word.
Purposeful craziness.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's purposeful. We on the reviews team, we will do whatever it takes to figure out which products really are good for people to use and what they're going to spend their money on. We don't want them to buy pans that are going to fall apart on them. Mm-hmm. We all know in that case that people tend to take a hot pan, take the food out, and then put it under the cold tap, and you see all the exciting steam.
Guilty.
Yeah, stop doing that. It's really bad for the pan.
Yeah.
That's thermal shock. You're going from hot to cold or cold to hot very quickly. Metal will buckle and warp at that point, and then you've got this pan that you've warped.
Yeah.
We whack it on the concrete after that just to find out about its structural stability. Is it gonna, skillets are not babied in anybody's kitchen. They really go on, you throw them around, you're tossing things, you're scraping these out of them, you're putting them in the oven. They're gonna live a hard life. It's not gonna be something that they can, be too delicate and too fragile. So we really wanna know, how stable are they? I mean, I have whacked pans where after I've finished hitting it 3 times against the edge of a concrete step or block, the bottom has fallen off.
Oh,
the handles, it crumbles. Yeah.
Well, and so Lisa, you are also co-creator and co-star, co-host on Gearheads, which is one of our best YouTube shows. If you haven't checked it out, absolutely, go check the episodes. Probably 8 seasons now, something like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I love it. So you and Hannah, who's also on the reviews team, just go super deep on a piece of equipment. You get nerdy, you get fun with it. I'm curious, what's the latest episode that people should check out?
We have just filmed Baking for Two and really just talking about the gear you need and the sort of mindset you need to prepare to bake smaller batch things, whether you're a smaller household or you just don't want 1,000,000 pounds, 3 dozen cookies.
Yeah.
And without, if you run out of people to give things away to and you just want to bake in a small batch.
So we'll definitely check that one out. But while I have you here, I want to ask, you have had your hands on so many pieces of kitchen equipment over many, many years, and you know the ins and outs of how they all work. What are your top 3 indispensable pieces of kitchen equipment that you think everyone should have? Some people may not have them all.
You need a real chef's knife. That is the one thing that, how are you going to start cooking without cutting something up? Or when you're done cooking, cutting it up. This knife can take the place of a lot of different knives. And having one that actually has a little quality to it, that fits your hand, that feels good in your hand, that you feel confident using, that you can keep sharp and use for a lifetime is really important. And I really feel like when you find a knife that fits you, it's kind of like that Harry Potter choosing a wand moment. It just gets in your hand and it feels like an extension of your hand. It goes where you want it to go, cuts what you want to cut. And your skills level up fast. Your Your food prep gets easier. Everything is better if you have a chef knife that's actually good.
Yeah.
Our basic favorite knife is less than $40. If you totally destroy it, that's not that much money.
Sure.
We're not telling people to spend $500 on a knife and then, treat it like a precious relic. This is something you can use every day.
You're under 40. What's your recommendation for that one?
It's Victorinox Swiss Army 8-inch Fibrox handle chef knife.
And I love that you know the entire name.
Oh,
right
God,
off the top
yes.
of your head.
I could probably recite the model number.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a great knife. It's made for food service for people who have to chop things all day long.
Yeah.
It's got a very neutral handle. It's very, very grippy handle. Fibrox is the name of the type of plastic that the handle's made out of. And if your hand is wet or greasy, it doesn't slip. It stays in your hand. It's a very neutral grip, so people of different hand sizes can use it.
It works for a lot of people.
It's a really good knife.
We stock it here in the test kitchen too for, some people like to use their own knives, but we have it in the equipment room, and I've used it a ton. It's a great knife.
Yeah.
All right. So what are your what's your second and third items that you need?
Maybe I would say get yourself a good size cutting board.
And what's a good size?
At least maybe a 12 by 15 or so.
Yep.
Mid-size is good. You can get a big one. A big one is nice. Make
I
yourself
like a big
room.
one.
I like a big one too.
You do, yeah.
But I realize that a lot of people don't want that. Again, they're cutting on some little cutting board that's 3 inches square. And it's like, no.
Yeah,
Do you know how
give
much
yourself the
harder it
space.
is, right?
Yeah, you guys are worth it. You're worth it. You should get the nice knife. You should get the big cutting board. Yeah.
Yeah, and when you go to set out to cook, clear some space for yourself. You are the person this is all working around. So you don't have to cut at the edge of the counter. You can clear some space, set yourself
Take
up a
up
garbage
space.
bowl or a compost bucket. Take your space. You're going to find it so much easier to cook and so much more enjoyable. Put on some music. That makes a huge difference. I find that if I'm standing there chopping, I'm thinking about how long this is taking. If I put music on,
You
flies
just chop
through.
into the rhythm. You like, yeah.
Yeah,
I love
we always
that.
have music in the test kitchen, and that's kind of how I learned.
My biggest point about cutting boards is like you have to put something underneath so that it won't slip. I hate when people are cutting on board and it slides all over.
Or rocking. 'cause
Rocking, it's not
worked a little
it's
bit.
not safe, and it's also just like frustrating to work with. So you can get an actual mat that works for that. You can do wet paper towels or wet towels underneath, but that's my big note on that.
Yeah, anchor that thing down.
Anchor that thing down. Okay, so we've got our knife. We've got a nice cutting board, and what's the third?
I would love a cast iron skillet, a nice 12-inch, not 8 or 10. Get yourself 12. Go big or go home. Go big and go home. You don't want a little tiny pan. You can always cook less in a big pan. You can't cook more in a little pan. And having enough room for things to spread out and the steam to evaporate, you get better browning. You've got capacity to do a lot of things, and a good cast iron pan will last you forever and ever.
Well, Lisa, we're going to get super nerdy on food and dig into so many things with our special guest today, so I want to bring him out. Today's guest is a 3 times James Beard Award winner. He is the inventor of a pasta called cascatelli, and he is the host and creator of Sporkful, which is a fabulous podcast. Please welcome to the Test Kitchen, Dan Pashman. Dan Pashman, welcome to the Test Kitchen.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
This has been a long time coming. You and I have talked about food in pretty much every format possible. We've done it live. We've done it on your podcast. We actually did it on TV as well, which we can talk about if you remember that. And but I'm so excited to have you here in the
And
Test
on
Kitchen.
my first book.
And
Go
your
way
first book.
back when you
Yeah.
were my special culinary advisor.
It's true. So we go way back. We're going to dig into all of this stuff. Before we do that, I'm really excited because I like to pour a tea for each of my guests. And I try to match the tea to the person who is here.
This is so fun.
It's so fun. So, and sometimes I nail it and it's like, that's a home run. That's
How
a
will we know
bullseye.
if you've nailed it?
I mean, we're going to talk through it.
Okay.
And if you're like, this is a complete failure, then it'll be a complete failure.
All right.
Okay, so the tea that I chose for today is called hojicha. So it is a roasted Japanese green tea. So it comes from Kyoto. And it is really, really interesting. It is not like other green teas. That roasting process changes it. It lowers the caffeine. It adds all these Maillard roasty, toasty flavors, which are wonderful. And it is beloved in Japan, not just as a sipping tea, which we're going to do now, but also used in desserts and so many other applications.
Sounds good to me.
So I'm going to pour it right now. And the reason that I chose it for you is you are not a surface guy in any way, and you don't go for just the normie kind of stuff. You always go a little bit deeper. I think in your newest cookbook, Anything's Possible, your combinations of flavors are totally interesting and wild and like pushing the boundary. And I think hojicha does that. It sort of surprises and sort of delights along the way.
Well, thank you. That's a good setup.
All right, so let me pass these out here.
Am I right? There are some kinds of green tea that have like toasted rice in them.
Yes.
This is not one of those.
That's not that. So like genmaicha has like toasted rice, but it's with green tea.
Right.
So this is you can even see with here it's like stems and leaves roasted, and it's just a whole new character to it. So let's taste
I
it.
smell it first.
Yeah, give it a good smell.
That is, yes, there's a lot going on here.
It's like it's lower in caffeine, and it's often enjoyed like later in the evening or something like that. It's so warm and comforting. I really love it as like a fall tea.
Yeah, and it's got a little bit like maybe it's just because I'm looking at the tea and it on the table here, and it looks like twigs.
Yeah.
But it feels like woody.
There's definitely woody. Yeah.
Yeah, the
woody,
little
earthy.
roasty, earthy, the greenness kind of comes through behind the roastiness a little bit. It's
Yeah.
not just green tea. And I've had genmaicha and I really like it, but this is different. It's a little simpler in some ways, but
Yeah.
a little more complex in others. I know that sounds really like pseudo deep, but you know what I'm saying.
No, I think it's deep. Well, and it's amazing. Like steeped for an ice cream base is like incredible. It's really works well.
Ooh.
Like panna cotta or something like that.
That.
So, see, I knew you get excited about
Yeah,
that.
no,
A lot of
I
options.
accept that this tea represents me.
Okay. All right. That's a win.
Especially Lisa's like simple and complicated at the same time. 'Cause I do sort of love a highbrow, lowbrow
Yeah, that is true.
situation.
That is true. Okay, so the other part of the tea is like while we're sipping this, you got to spill some tea. So what is the hot gossip going on right now for Dan Pashman?
Oh man, the hot goss. In what like in I'm trying. I need something more specific. What?
So what's happening for you? We're going to dig a lot deeper into this, but like you've done this incredible project where you created a whole new pasta shape.
Right.
Like, is there something that like isn't announced right now that's like coming up that we're getting maybe a little scoop on?
All right, this is in keeping with our tea.
Okay.
This is very, very preliminary. No idea if this will ever happen. But my pasta shape cascatelli. So far, it's only in America.
Yeah.
I put in a lot of effort trying to get it sold in Europe. Didn't really ever go anywhere.
From like regulations or like cultural pushback?
Yeah, no, not regulations. More just like Italian companies are kind of like, no American could ever have a good idea about pasta.
Sure.
And there's also just like, the funny thing about pasta that I've learned is that like as much as there's like billions of dollars and euros worth of sales, it's like nobody really cares about trying to do anything new.
Yeah.
Because they're already doing well with what they've got. There's not much of an incentive. Like if pasta sales started plummeting around the world, then maybe they'd be like, we need something new.
Right. But it's in no situation is that going to happen.
I'm now in the very early stages of trying to get cascatelli in Japan.
Wow.
Ooh.
Being big in Japan is obviously like the goal for everybody, right?
It is. An old friend of mine who's Japanese American, she was like, forget Europe. You should be trying to get this in Japan. Like where maybe there's not as much of, I mean, of course there is centuries and millennia of tradition, but there's also a part of the culture that is excited about new things.
Yes. Yeah.
That maybe you don't find so much in Europe. And she felt like Japan would be perfect for cascatelli.
I love that. So, all right, that's really hot goss, and I would be pumped for you to have that happen.
Yeah.
Let's back up a little bit, and for those who don't know what cascatelli is, don't really know your story here, can you just like give us the kind of high level version of it of like what took place?
So I set out to invent a new shape of pasta because I wanted to tell a big epic story on my podcast, and I thought that would be good. Like things would go wrong, it would be dramatic, and it would make for a good story on the podcast, even if it failed.
And the podcast is the Sporkful,
Right.
Long running, incredible. You go super deep on stuff.
Thank you. Yes. And so around the time of the podcast boom and all these sort of long form podcasts were coming out, I was like, what would my version of that be? Like, how could I tell a long form story with the sort of cliffhangers and multiple episodes? And I was like, what if I invented a food? And I settled on pasta because I have a lot of opinions about pasta shapes, and also because I wanted it to be something that would be shelf stable, relatively inexpensive, so I could ship it to listeners all over the country. So I didn't want it to only be like in one boutique store in Brooklyn. I wanted my listeners everywhere to be able to order it. And I also just felt like there's a lot of mediocre pasta shapes out there.
Well, I want to dig into that, but yes.
Okay, so we will dig into that. But anyway, spaghetti's not so great. A lot of them don't do so great. They're just very old, and people are stuck with them. So I set out to invent a new shape of pasta. I ate every obscure shape I could get my teeth on. I isolated variables. Do I like long or short, ruffles or ridges? I really focus in on ruffles because I decided that they're phenomenal for holding sauce. They create a very special, unique texture, and yet very few pasta shapes have them.
Yeah, what are the classic ones that have ruffles?
Mafalda or Mafaldina was the one that really inspired me. That's like fettuccine, but with ruffles down the side, down the edges.
Yep.
Lasagna has it.
True.
So like, mafalda's like a narrow lasagna. Creste di Gallo, which is
Yeah.
like an elbow macaroni with a single spine ruffle around the top. It looks almost like I think like a stegosaurus.
Yeah, or
Creste di Gallo means like rooster's comb. Reginetti, which is sort of like mafalda chopped up into small pieces.
Okay, yeah, I've
Or
seen that.
Sagne a Pezzi, which Rusticella d'Abruzzo makes only with the first grain of the year, and that's like it's like a slang term for broken lasagna.
Okay, yeah.
That's
That
a
sounds
great.
That sounds amazing.
Get Sagne a Pezzi when Rusticella releases it. It's phenomenal.
Okay, wow, that's a good tip.
Anyway, whatever. We
Yeah,
keep getting sidetracked.
yeah. Okay, so wait, so you wanted it to
So I
have
spent
ruffles.
3 years on it. A lot of things went wrong, and I launched cascatelli, specially designed to hold a lot of sauce and have these interesting textures and stay on your fork more easily. And it went very well, and it was named one of Time Magazine's best inventions of the year, and now it's in stores.
That's incredible. Time Magazine's one of the best inventions of the year.
And I still get it came out in 2021. Here we
Yeah.
are, 4.5 or so years later.
Yeah.
I still get introduced at every party and barbecue as like, this is my friend Dan. He invented a new shape of pasta.
Yeah. I mean,
It's a good icebreaker.
It is a great story. I mean, it's an incredible story, and everyone needs to listen to it's 5 parts, I think, right? 5-part series.
The original series is 5 parts. It's
Yeah.
called Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
So if you search that up in your podcast player, it's still there.
Yep.
There are a few sequels we did with updates, but that's the original series.
Yeah, and it's incredible. There's ups and downs. It's like anytime you're trying to like start something new. So if you like it from a business perspective, but I love that you were just like singularly focused on this, and I see it everywhere now, like all over the place, with the little Sporkful logo on it. And then you also you brought back 2 shapes. One of them I'm obsessed with that were sort of forgotten to time, right?
Yeah, so when cascatelli came out, actually cascatelli means waterfalls in Italian because if you hold it vertical, the ruffles kind of look like flowing water. Because everyone always asks that. Yeah, and so when that came out and it was very successful, everyone was like, are you going to invent another shape of pasta? You should invent another shape of pasta. And because I knew how incredibly hard it was the first time, and also just how lucky I got that the shape, when it worked as well as it did, I was like, there's just no way that I could do this a second time and have it go as well. It would definitely be a disappointment.
No sophomore effort, no sophomore album.
No, like, hit it out of the park once, like go out on top. But I had the idea to team up with Sfollini, who are the artisanal company in upstate New York that makes the original cascatelli. What if we were to find 2 super obscure shapes that I came across in my cascatelli research and be like one of the very few or only folks selling it in America?
Yeah.
So one of the shapes we did is called Vesuvio, like Mount Vesuvius. It's also sometimes called Nodini or Trotole, like knots. But Vesuvio is like Vesuvius, and I think that's a more fun name. It also kind of looks like a poop emoji, although we decided
you didn't go with that.
We didn't name it after the Italian for that. Although I did look it up, it's emoji de caca.
It always sounds better in Italian.
Yeah.
So,
That may not. That one may not.
that one translates too easily.
And then the other one, it's a shape called, in Italy they call it cinque buchi, which means 5 tubes. It's, if you imagine the cross section is like, picture it's a square. The cross section is a square, but all 4 corners of the squares are tiny tubes.
yes.
So they call it 5 holes because it has the 4 tiny tubes plus the center. But to me, it looks like 4 when you look at it. Plus, if you saw how cinque buchi is spelled, you'd be like, this is
wouldn't
not a
happen.
good name for a product in America.
Yeah.
It's only made during Carnival and only in Sicily. So even most Italians have never seen this shape. They've never heard of it. You really can't find it in stores. So we took it, I added ridges to the outside for more sauceability.
Yep.
And we renamed it Quattratini because it looks like 4 to me, as I said, not 5.
This is the one that I really, really like. Like cascatelli, I do enjoy, but the quattratini I really love because it's like you're getting noodle shape, which I love. So there's like the spots there for sauce to grab, but it's just so structural. And so as you're chewing it, it's just, I don't know, it's a mouthful in a really, really good way. That's my fave.
Thank you. I love it too. I've had to stop serving it in my house though.
Oh, why's that?
Well, one of the funny issues with Quattratini is because every shape, every piece has so much pasta in it. Like there's a lot of walls in there.
Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah.
So every piece is really like 3 or 4 pieces of pasta fused together. So in a 1 pound box, there are fewer pieces, and you shouldn't eat as many pieces as you would if it was like elbow macaroni, because each piece is so much. But when I serve it to my kids, everyone feels like they're shortchanged. Because they're like, but I only got 8 pieces of pasta, and then they want more. I'm like, the 4 of us just ate a pound of pasta. That's more than enough for a family.
Yeah.
but somehow they always feel like they got shortchanged.
I find it hard to believe, though, in your house that people are getting shortchanged on pasta at all.
No, they're not. But my kids,
It's
like,
like
it's
seems
never
like a
enough for
pasta
them.
house. Yeah.
But quattrocini it's probably the most sauceable shape of the three.
Yeah. Yeah. I would agree with that. I think it's lovely, and I go by. I just eat as much as I need. I don't limit it just on, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
more
Intuitive eating.
Two
I think they call
boxes.
that.
intuitive eating.
I'll tell you a funny quick aside, which you two as food nerds will probably appreciate. So when I was trying to find other shapes to do, I started looking through a pasta die catalog. The die is like the mold for the pasta shape. And so these industrial die makers, they have these catalogs, and it's like pages and pages of like ziti and penne. There's 42 different kinds of ziti or something like that. How thick do you want the walls? How much should the diameter be? Do you want ridges or smooth? And it's like 0.2 millimeters or 0.22 millimeters or 0.24 millimeters.
Like these beautiful blueprints for
Right, and you can custom, and then the rigatoni, all the same options.
Yeah.
But the cinque buchi, which I call quattrocini, there was only one. It was like buried on page like 104 of the book. Was this one sitting there in the corner? And I'm like, what's this? And even the people who made the die didn't know what it was called. We had to like do this deep dive to even find it.
That's so fun. It's like archaeology getting into
Yeah.
it. So I love talking to you about food. What's really interesting to me, I mean, we can talk forever about it, is that I think we disagree on a lot of things, but both have really good backup for it. And so
We've stayed friends nonetheless.
And we stay friends nonetheless, Dan and Dan. And so one of them is actually like pasta shapes. Obviously, we're very connected on that topic. And you said something, and I know this was a long time ago. I'll just never let it go. And I think you also will also stand by it, is that you think spaghetti is a bad pasta shape. Have you heard that, Lisa, that he said that?
Yes, and I think those are fighting words. So I'm Italian on both
so it's gonna be
sides.
like probably 2-on-1. So you and I did an event in Boston a little while ago, and what I was trying to convince you of, because you talk about how you have different measures for it. You have sauceability, forkability, and I think
tooth syncability. Those are my three metrics for judging pasta shapes.
And I actually think in terms of tooth syncability, your cascatelli has it because it's right angles and all this great stuff and ruffles on there. But spaghetti, I don't know if this is true, but I think you're thinking of spaghetti as like an individual noodle. But the way you actually eat it is twirling 5 strands onto a fork and then biting into it. And I think it probably has far more tooth syncability than even cascatelli does when you're eating it that way.
So if you take like 10 strands and have them.
Yeah, that's how you experience spaghetti.
Well, right. I've eaten spaghetti. I understand how it's done. Right?
Oh, so you've
Let's
had it.
make
You've had
sure.
it before.
Had it, yes. I'm familiar with it.
I should have started with that.
Yeah. When I set out to find all the obscure shapes, that's where I started. I hear what you're saying, but I would, even just among long shapes that you twirl around the fork, don't you feel like fettuccine, for instance, is more tooth syncable, that you can sink your teeth into it more than spaghetti?
I don't know. I don't know about that. I would say they both twirl really nicely. I think I like spaghetti more than linguine. You said fettuccine or linguine?
I said fettuccine. Linguine I don't love either.
Yeah. I don't know why. Linguine just isn't that good in some weird way. We can talk about that too.
Only good for like linguine and like clam sauce, something very oily, because the cross section of linguine is an oval shape, as you probably know.
Yes.
It's not flat. Everyone thinks it's flat like fettuccine, but just narrower, but it's an oval shape. So it's the perfect shape for pursing your lips and sucking an oily coated pasta in. But other than that,
that is a really good point. Yeah, it is probably the best for that.
It's the one shape you can create like a perfect seal.
Have you tested that?
I have,
or it's just anecdotally. You've
no, I've tested it.
You've sat there.
It's very perilous to eat like if you eat linguine spaghetti style twirled around the fork. That's the sort of safer way to eat it. If you put one strand in your mouth and slurp it in like a noodle, especially with such an oily sauce, it's going to fishtail everywhere. It's going to end up
destroy everything.
Yeah. So you got to like go in with a hazmat suit.
Yeah, like a lobster bib and just like do it. Like,
yeah,
you got to eat that one alone, not in front of people you want to impress.
There's no way to do it gracefully.
yeah, that's a fair point. That's a fair point.
So I guess my point is that like spaghetti, I love all pasta. If you I'm sure that you could cook me a phenomenal spaghetti dish and I would love it and I would eat every bite of it. I just think that as compared to other shapes, I don't think there's anything that spaghetti is the best at. Considering that it's the number one shape and it's the first shape that was industrialized and mass produced. It's the number one selling shape today. Why? Like it's the oldest, but really because that's an indication of how primitive it is. It's a very primitive, simple shape.
Yeah.
And sure, I love the classics, but I just think like I think fettuccine is more tooth sinkable and stays on the fork better because it's flat, it doesn't roll off.
Yeah, I agree with getting it on the fork.
My beef with spaghetti.
Oh,
As-
Lisa, I thought you were going to be on my side here.
All right, Lisa's
No,
coming
my
around.
beef with what you don't like about spaghetti is the
okay.
sauceability. And I think that comes down to draining the pasta. I see a lot of pasta water being thrown around and people taking it right out of the pot and putting it in the sauce. I think of spaghetti think of the salad spinner.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you want your lettuce dry so the dressing adheres. It doesn't wash off and sit in the bottom of the bowl, and you've got this sort of watery experience as you eat the lettuce. Pasta is the same way. I say drain it, really shake it out well, let the steam evaporate, then sauce it. That sauce is going to cling. Also, maybe your sauce is too thin. So, like that combination, too much water, too thin sauce,
Well-
you're going to get a beautiful sauceable spaghetti if you drain
Well,
it.
I have two thoughts on that. One is that adding pasta water, you're getting it. You want the starch, not necessarily the water part of it. And usually you add it, and you're continuing to cook to drive off that water, and then sort of marry them together. So I would agree if you're just going to slop it in and sort of do. I'm not saying you slop it in. And sort of,
Lisa, if I understand correctly, you're talking about when you drain the pasta.
Yep.
That a lot of people don't drain it enough, so the pasta is still wet.
Yeah.
And then they put it back in the sauce, and yes, you're kind of cooking it off. But if you don't cook it off enough, that it makes the pasta slick.
Yes. But I think, and depending on the sauce you're putting it into, maybe you want to drain it a little bit more. But here's the thing about that sort of sauce pickup for me. I think it follows the capillary effect. When you have all of that spaghetti, it's the sauce that gets sort of trapped between them as you're twirling your spoon, or your fork. So I think you can actually get quite a bit of sauce. Obviously not a big chunky sauce, but even with a cascatelli, you have to stab the other things along the way there too.
But they're gonna hold all the sauce for you. I mean, look, I could make up fancy terms like capillary effect too, Dan. But I just
We're going to put a definition on the screen so that everyone sees that we got it from Wikipedia.
I just feel like, look, the things you're both saying are not wrong. I just feel like the things you're saying are true about every other pasta shape and more true. So, yes, does spaghetti hold some sauce? Yes, it holds some sauce between the, it's not sauceless.
Yeah.
But it's not great at holding sauce. There's a lot of other shapes that are better at holding sauce. It's also it's hard to get a great bite on your fork.
Yep.
Even with twirling, even with the spoon assist, it's still not ideal. You tilt the fork the wrong way, it's going to slide right off. It's hard to avoid having danglers, which then are very perilous as you eat. And so, I love all pasta. I'm just saying, as compared to other shapes,
Yeah.
I don't think you can tell me one thing that spaghetti does better than any other shape, besides maybe scratch a nostalgia itch.
Which is huge. I mean, I think that's huge. Yeah. All right. So we're going to continue to disagree.
Agree to disagree.
Agree to disagree on this one.
I say Lady and the Tramp moment with cascatelli wouldn't work.
That's true.
It wouldn't, but I also feel like that scene
what
did great
about
damage to pasta history by romanticizing a mediocre shape.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Have two dogs ever eaten cascatelli? That's the good question right there. Yeah.
Not at the same not the same piece at the same time. You're right.
I'm sure they've eaten. Wow, that's interesting. How many dogs have stolen bowls of cascatelli? So I think we should put that aside
right.
for a second because it doesn't go anywhere. It never does. But I want to talk. Pasta is amazing, but the sauce that goes on it is also super important. And in your latest book, Anything's Possible, which I'm not a huge pun guy, but I actually really like the title of that book. It's great. You are super, super playful with sauces on your pasta, and I'm curious, what are a couple from that book that really stand out to you, and why'd you go that way?
I mean, the basic idea of the book is so cascatelli came out. Everyone was sending me pictures of what they were making with it, which was very exciting. But 75% of what I got was tomato sauce, meat sauce, and mac and cheese. And then 20% was maybe pesto. And that left 5% of things that I was like, oh, that's clever. And it just really struck me how limited most people's sauce selections are. And I also felt like, as much as, I love all the Italian classics, what else could be out there? So I really set out to do a cookbook that was non-traditional. There's no recipe for tomato sauce in this book. There's no recipe for classic lasagna or meat sauce or cacio e pepe. But there's cacio e pepe with chili crisp. There's instead of sort of a traditional Italian artichokes and lemon that they would do with lemon juice, we do it with preserved lemon.
That's great.
Those kinds of things. We do have a shakshuka and shells. What are some of my other favorites? Well, there's a kimchi carbonara that's phenomenal. We just sort of like bringing together ingredients from different cuisines all over the world. There's a mac and dal that I know you like, Dan.
Yes, another one.
So I just felt like let's broaden pasta. I think that, for a food that is so beloved and that we eat so much of, it's a shame that the things we're putting on top of it are so narrow.
Yeah. It's funny for me, like I can be a purist about things. Like I find something that I really love, like this is how a lobster roll should be or whatever. I actually found it really freeing. When I got your book, I was like, I don't know. But then I started doing it, and I think I've been more playful with pasta sort of since then.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
You were excited about a specific one in the book. Which one was that?
I really loved the idea of the chili crisp ones because that is something that I'm trying to get more use out of, and to put it on pasta hadn't occurred to me. It was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, like, I feel like this happens so often in food. People hear about a combination, and your initial reaction is like, huh? But then when you kind of like unpack the combination, you're like, well, that actually makes like,
sense,
it makes like, people put chili crisp on vanilla soft serve.
Yep.
So the idea of chili crisp with dairy is already out there.
Mm-hmm.
So to put chili crisp into cacio e pepe isn't so crazy at all to me. Like once you sort of break it down that way. And I think that there's so many other combinations like that.
I think you had you mentioned there was one that was your favorite in the book. What was that?
I don't know that I can pick just one favorite. I do have a list.
What about
in the
one
book.
of your kids? Can you pick one of your kids?
Since the book came out, the ones that I probably have cooked the most, the spaghetti all'assassina, assassin spaghetti, which is one of the few Italian dishes that's in there, but it's pretty obscure. I went to Bari in Puglia to learn about how it's made because that's where it's from. The one dish that I really kind of invented in there is pasta pizza, which is you take fettuccine you can do any long shape. I think it works best with fettuccine. You cook it, you mix it with raw beaten eggs, and you put it on a sheet pan and you bake it. And then you top it like a pizza and then bake it again. And it gets like crispy golden brown on the bottom and the pasta all fuses together and you can eat it like pizza.
It's almost like the crispy edges of a lasagna turned into a whole thing, kind of.
Yeah. So my kids love that one. I just recently made them the pasta frittata, which is another sort of lesser known Italian thing. It's got a lot of nutmeg in it. And that's a great sort of brunch one. You can make it in advance and serve it room temperature.
Yeah.
So I made that recently, and it was such a hit that I had to make it again like 2 weeks later.
That's awesome. I actually developed a recipe here at America's Test Kitchen for the pasta frittata, and it was amazing. Like it's like such a good use of leftover pasta. You get like crispy bottom and rich egginess, and I love that you can just like cut a wedge and enjoy it.
For sure, it's actually a common beach snack in Italy.
Oh, is that right?
Because it's again like something they'll make the next morning with the leftovers from the previous night's dinner, and slice up a few wedges, wrap them in wax paper or whatever, and then eat it on the beach for lunch.
I love that. That sounds great.
Yeah.
One of our top recipes for the last probably 6 months is our spaghetti all'assassina.
Really?
Yeah, I think there's it's having a moment, and we talk about it as like the pasta that breaks basically every rule of pasta making. But you were there in Bari and checking it out. Can you talk a little bit about that pasta?
Yeah, so I heard about it as I was sort of doing research for the cookbook. I was looking for things that were different that most Americans didn't know about. So I heard about this. I'm a huge texture eater. I love crisp and crunch. Spaghetti all'assassina basically is just you take spaghetti, you put it into a spicy tomato sauce, you cook it down until the sauce basically turns to the consistency of tomato paste. And then you keep pan frying it until the pasta turns crispy, crunchy, golden brown in some parts, and even charred black in other parts, until it is, as the Italians would say, croccante, crunchy. Mm-hmm. So I went to the place in Bari where it was invented. I went in the kitchen and met the chefs and heard the whole story. And then I went around to other places in Bari where it's served until I found my one that I thought was my favorite. And then I came back to the U.S. and tried to replicate that one.
Yeah, it's such an amazing pasta, and it's like, there's like 3 or 4 textures in every single bite, and I love things. There's a sort of weird sweet spot of like it's feels like it breaks all the rules, but it's traditional for like a certain group of people.
Right. Although it was only just invented in like late 60s.
It's pretty new.
So it's also, to me, one of the things I also like about it is we have this perception of Italian food as being just absolutely etched in stone.
Right.
And you ask any Italian or Italian American, they'll tell you like their grandmother's grandmother made it this way. And it's just not true. Like maybe Italian food doesn't change as quickly as some other cuisines, but like carbonara was only invented in like the 1940s.
Yeah.
So Italian food does change. It does evolve. And spaghetti all'assassina is a perfect example of that. It's only recently become widespread around Bari in the last 10 or 20 years. And now there's new versions. There's one with stracciatella on top. They do one with broccoli rabe during broccoli rabe season.
Oh, yeah. I've seen that.
So I put a recipe for that one in my cookbook too. So, and there's more and more places opening up. Now there's like places that just do assassina in Bari. I'm going back. So I've been doing these pasta tours since my book came out every fall with Culinary Backstreets. So I'm going back this fall 2025. We're just about to announce the tour for 2026. And we go.
This is you in on location.
On location, going around Italy eating pasta, and we go to Bari and we eat spaghetti all'assassina in multiple places. And
it's funny. I the invite must have like gone to my spam folder or something.
I didn't get it either.
I haven't gotten it yet. That's cool.
You should come. We should just go to Italy and just eat.
I agree. Okay, so I think we've talked about pasta a lot.
Yeah.
But you have opinions on foods outside of pasta, it turns out.
It's true.
And I think you sort of, in my mind, like when you came on my radar in the early days, we're doing a lot around like how people actually eat foods, which I find really fascinating. Could you give us a couple of your hot takes on how people are maybe eating things the wrong way?
Yeah, I mean, this was sort of like my whole focus for the first few years of my podcast in the early 2010s. I mean, like, you know them well, but like cheese on the bottom on a cheeseburger. Cheeseburger with cheese on the bottom. You put the cheese on the bottom, it brings the cheese closer to your tongue. It accentuates cheesy goodness. It also creates a seal to prevent the juices from turning the bottom bun soggy.
So in that case, does that mean that you prefer the taste of cheese over beef?
Not over it, but if you're talking about a thick burger and you have the cheese on the top, I think you're barely going to register the cheese. It's mostly like a barely textural thing as you're chewing.
Yeah.
You put it on the bottom, you just kind of notice it a little bit more.
I get it. What do you think of that one, Lisa?
I love that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Where's your cheese normally on your burger?
I don't put it on because I can't taste it, so I have like another.
So
billion
you just do
calories.
hamburgers?
Yeah, I just say keep the cheese. Give me the burger.
Maybe now you're going to start this.
I'm going to try that.
All right, good,
Maybe
good.
I'll like it now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What's another one?
I mean, I put a lot of thought into tortilla chip dipping and the best shapes for dipping and the best techniques and how to get as much dip as possible on your chip.
Okay,
So,
round versus triangular chip versus rectangular.
I mean, round overall probably has more structural integrity. I've actually interviewed a rocket scientist and an engineer on the subject of tortilla chip dipping. I've gone deep on this one. So what the rocket scientist taught me is that if you have a triangular chip, that you should like snowplow across the top of the dip instead of
Don't go too deep.
Don't go straight down, because then when you bend it back, you're getting like this sort of forklift thing, and that's when you're putting so much strain on the chip. That's when you get breakage.
Yeah.
The other thing to think about with a triangular chip is, are you holding 1 point and dipping 2 points? Or are you holding it by a straight edge and dipping 1 point? That's also going to determine the stability of the chip.
And this is like guacamole. Like this is like a serious dip.
But the engineer was, when I was interviewing an engineer about this, he was saying something about how the arch is like the most powerful shape in engineering. Like the Roman aqueducts are held up by arches.
Yep.
They still stand today. And I realized then that the scoop chip, because he was like, and a three-dimensional arch is a dome.
Yep.
I realized that the scoop chip, if you turn it upside down, is a dome.
Is a dome. Yeah.
And that thing, if you hold that on your fingertip like a thimble, I believe, Dan, you tested
how are you
this.
dipping a
When I
dome?
first came
Yes.
out with this,
Yes.
you tested it with
I did.
cream cheese.
Yes, we did test it. Yeah. So
What did you find?
So we tested this back in the day here at America's Test Kitchen, and we tried it with a bunch of different dips. It has to be a thick one, but yeah, using it like basically in reverse of what you would normally do, and you plow through it. There's like almost no way to break that chip. So we did a story on it. We posted it all over the place, and people were just like furious about it. They did not like, even though it was true, they were like, "This is ridiculous. Your eyes are overthinking it." But you're 100% right, and it's really really sturdy, and it looks completely silly.
Why would anyone complain that America's Test Kitchen is overthinking
I
something?
know, that's like what
Like
we
that,
do.
yeah, that's what makes you great.
I know that is exactly what we do.
Like over
yeah,
that.
Like,
no, I know.
why are you
Never.
following these people on Instagram if you don't like overthinking?
Yeah, no, it's totally true. But no, I remember the image that we shot for it, and it was like, the overturned scoop with like, I don't know, 1.5 inches of guacamole sitting on top of it.
Yeah.
Like you can go over the top with it.
So if you want all the guac, turn it over, basically.
Yeah, that's
Turn
right.
your chip over.
Yeah, that's what you do there. All right, so Dan, I'd like to do a third segment on the show that I call the Ror-Snack Test. So
That's clever.
instead of ink blots, don't.
So you didn't like puns.
Don't steal that. I don't unless I come up with them, and I like them. So instead of showing you ink blots and then analyzing you, I'm going to ask you some sort of quirky food questions, which these are like perfectly up your alley, and then we'll understand you a little bit more.
All right, I'm ready.
All right, so the first one is I'm also obsessed with the way that people physically eat foods, and corn on the cob is one of my favorite foods. So I'm curious, how do you physically eat the corn on the cob?
I take a knife and I cut the kernels off the cob.
Oh, wow. So you don't eat it on the cob at all?
I don't. It gets stuck in my teeth. It's a giant mess, and I feel like you leave half the food on the cob.
If you're not good at it, yeah. Yeah.
Take a good. Plus, I also love when you slice it straight down from top to bottom. You get these like chunks. You'll get,
I love that.
and you can pick that up with your hand, and it's almost like eating a potato chip or something. It's like you get this whole, and you pop that in your mouth, and you get this very satisfying, very juicy bite of like 20 or 30 kernels in your mouth all at once, and it's like a flat slab, so it kind of you can really bite your teeth down on it. It kind of spreads through it. You get like, it's just like maximum corn crunch and flavor.
I could have predicted that answer actually, because the
There's a fourth option, right?
yeah, there's a lot of different options. But so the last time that we were talking on stage, we were talking about I think pistachios or seafood or something like that, and you were like, the idea of like opening pistachios was like ridiculous to you. You're like, I want the bag where they're already stripped out.
Yeah, I'm like tired and annoyed just thinking about opening pistachios.
Yeah, and I think I was like teasing you about like, I was like, why does food have to be easy? And your mom was actually at the show in the front row, and I like looked at her, I was like, what happened to him when he was a kid? I don't understand what happened here. But yes, like you want the maximum benefit of it. So I totally get that. I just happen to like love the process of like eating corn on the cob, opening pistachios, cracking crabs, and doing all the work there in the same process.
Yeah, I guess you and I are just different in that respect.
Yeah.
I mean, there's, certain foods that involve some amount of construction, where you're, like bosam, the Korean dish. You got the pork belly, you got, different components, the pickled radish, or whatever it is. That I love.
You like that, okay?
Because then you can kind of like alter your ratios from one bite to another, and the construction of it is fun. But I still, when you take a bite out of it, it's still like a very large, satisfying bite with all these textures and flavors that are all coming together. Whereas like to go through the work of opening up a pistachio, and some of them don't want to open.
Oh, like half of them don't want to open.
Half of them don't want to open.
Yeah,
So they're really stubborn and
Yeah.
annoying. And then you open it up, and what do you get for all your effort? One pistachio.
And you appreciate that
Yeah.
pistachio. After that initial conversation, I remembered I wanted to send you. They make tins of pistachios where none of them will open, as like a gag. And I forgot to send it to you.
Are they real pistachios?
Yeah, they're real pistachios.
Are they like
'Cause you-
hand selected to not open?
They probably are like, these are the defects because we didn't open them
Right,
properly.
right.
But you can just like send that as a gift.
That's so funny. It's like basically like you send it to someone to make them go insane.
Yeah. Not that I wanted
So
you.
mean. I love it.
Great. Okay, so I want to ask about another piece of produce, bananas, and I want to know what your preferred banana ripeness is, and then how dedicated you are to that specific ripeness.
So on the spectrum from like,
Let's say like totally green to black with like with like clean yellow in the middle.
so right, okay, so I don't want any green on it.
No green on. Okay.
I'd say so. So if totally green is 0 and black is 10, and clean yellow is 5,
Yep.
my ideal banana would be a 7.3.
Okay.
Ooh, okay.
I think we might be aligned on this. Like
Oh no.
that's like a lightly speckled sort of guy, right?
Yeah, a little bit of you want to be a little soft and a little sweet.
Yeah.
But my ideal banana would not be mushy.
Agreed. Yeah, that's my sweet spot there. As they ripen, you get like more and more fructose. You get that nice sweetness. You lose the sourness and some of that chalky texture. I can't do like below 5. I'm not gonna happen for me.
I'm sitting here thinking 3.5 is good for me.
So you
I
still
don't
want
want
some
it green
green?
anymore. I want it at the very moment when it stops being green, but before it's fully ripe. I like it like more like lightly sweet without that kind of maybe a little bit too much gloppy sweetness that it gets when it's really brown.
Okay.
So like I'm always trying to catch it right before it is fully like starting to get into that speckled zone. So
Yeah. I think what you need is like a household that just has the runs the gamut, so that they're like people are picking them at the right times.
yeah.
That's like the solution to it.
Well, there are some stores that like sort avocados that way, right? Where like
Yes.
right.
Wish you have to go squeeze them all.
No, you should never squeeze your avocados.
Why?
Right, that's my platform. My entire platform.
Oh yeah, I've been
Squeeze, but you got to give a light pinch, a little press
yeah,
to
you
know
just
if.
you gotta feel them and like how do you pick them then?
Because here's the thing. So if you're not planning ahead, we have a huge problem here. But every time you open an avocado and it looks like it's going to be great, and then you have these like little brown spots, that is because other avocado lovers have come by and given them that gentle squeeze or that little poke, and then put it back because it wasn't quite what they wanted, and then you buy it, and then you get screwed. The way to buy avocados is one step before they are ripe. That you could squeeze them and they're hard and it's not going to matter. So they're like not quite purple black at that point. And if we all did that, there would be no issues with avocados.
Interesting.
I think I've ruined a lot of people's lives.
I'm sorry for you to realize that right now, Lisa. You might need some time to process.
I will.
Which
I have to think
I
about
understand.
this. I feel bad.
Yeah, I mean that's
Not
look,
that bad.
that's a good platform, Dan.
Yeah.
But I just think that
They're
require a
expensive.
lot of avocado education.
Yeah, I did a YouTube video on it, and I'll keep going. I won't rest. Okay, so my last Ror-Snack question for you is, I'm going to ask you to complete a sentence, and the sentence is, "When life hands you lemons."
I would say when life hands you lemons, preserve them.
That's a good one. Why do you
I
say
just
that?
love preserved lemon. I always have a jar of whole preserved lemons somewhere in my house. I also love a New York Shook preserved lemon paste.
Oh yeah,
which is really
Where it's
nice.
like just pureed up for you.
Pureed, so it's great. You know, 'cause sometimes preserved lemon can be very strong. You can take like a little spoonful of the paste and add it into some other sauce. If you're making something, you just feel like this just needs a little bit. It needs a little more tart, a little more funk or something. I'll do like grilled chicken. New York Shook makes this shawarma barbecue sauce that I love. So I'll do the shawarma barbecue sauce on chicken thighs with some salt. And then I'll add in a little of the preserved lemon paste into the mix too. So it's just like a little bit of like a lemony shawarma.
That sounds really good.
Out of this world.
Yeah, as well. I love preserved lemons too. My mom makes them pretty much every year with Meyer lemons.
Okay.
And so they're a little softer in texture, but also in flavor. They're not like quite as punchy in the face. And I've done a puree of that too. That's a great answer. Preserved lemons.
Have you ever heard of this dessert in, I guess it's somewhere near like Sorrento in Italy called delizia al limone? That would also be a good thing to do with lemons.
Yeah.
It's, I had it once at this gelateria, and it's like just stuck with me forever. I found it once in America, but it wasn't nearly as good. It's like, you got to look, it's sort of like a light cake with like a lemon glaze and then also some other stuff poured on top to sort of like soak into the cake a little. But it's from like the part of Italy that's especially known for lemons.
Yep. And those Italian lemons are incredible.
Yeah.
Wow. Dan, this has been so fun, so informative. I'm glad I feel like we just have like an ongoing conversation that we will now pick up the next time we get together. But always such spirited discussion, and I love the way your mind works about food. Where can folks find you next? Where's Dan off to next, and what's he working on?
Sporkful podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow me on Instagram. If you go to sporkful.com, there's links there for where to buy my pasta.
Yep.
And thanks so much for having me. Right back at you, Dan. I look forward to continuing the conversation. Thanks so much, Lisa.
That's great. And make sure that you check out Dan's pasta cascatelli, or my favorite quattratini, and the other one is Vesuvio.
Yeah.
Okay, look for those pastas. You can get all the recipes that we talked about for the ATK ones on the America's Test Kitchen app or americastestkitchen.com. Thanks, Lisa, as well. And we'll see you next time.